Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining our Monday space. Today's it's a very interesting discussion about voter stake registry on Realms. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Dean. I see a Mad Alex Pertz, Scientist Joe, Zentosi. Get over here. Join us. Hello, Adrian. Hello, Brave Allison. So I've sent you the invites to speak, guys. Let me know if you can access the floor, and let's give it a couple of minutes before we start. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Once again, welcome everybody. So, Realms Voter Stake Registry. This is a very cool tool that, for those of you who are listening in the recording, because from the participants right here, I think almost everyone I see in the audience knows about what VSR is. So it's basically a lockup mechanism that you can enable on your realms for your tokens or NFT for your governance, in short, where you lock your tokens or your NFTs in your DAO, and you get multipliers on your voting power. This is a very a very interesting tool that you can play around and reward players and users and participants that are willing to lock up their tokens for a longer period of time in exchange for more governance power. It's not, as far as I know, it's not a new idea in the DAO space, but it's done very effectively on Realms as far as I'm concerned. So there are several ways that you can lock up your tokens on the VSR. So some ways that you can do that is through either a cliff or a constant lock. So when we're talking about the cliffed lock, tokens are locked for a fixed duration and they're released in the full end of the time period that you're going to lock them for. So, for example, let's say you have 100 tokens and you lock them for 2 years, and you will not be able to use them for 2 years, but for that duration, you can have the increased voting power that you have locked them for. That's the cliff lock. The constant lock is a bit different in terms that you lock your tokens indefinitely, and at any time you can start the unlock process, which basically lasts for the initially chosen lockup duration. So if you locked 100 tokens for, let's say, 2 years, after 3 years you decide to unlock your tokens. This means that at that point that you unlock them, it's going to take 2 years to unlock. So that's the constant lock. And then there are vested options that you can do either monthly or daily. Let me check about the speaker invitations I've sent here for anyone that wants to join us, so I don't take the whole monologue on this myself. And in the meantime, Zentoshi, can you tell us whether you've used the VSR or not until now, until today? And what were your impressions, and in which instances you've used it, if so?
Hi everyone. So no, I have not used VSR yet. So I'm very interested to hear and learn more about it from Adrian, and also what was his experience and Mango DAO when using VSR for Realms.
I'm just sorting out some technical difficulties. So yeah, in my experience, I think we've used VSR for a while on Dean's list. Oh, there he is, the man,
Okay,
the
yeah.
myth, the legend. Welcome,
Yeah,
welcome.
can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, loud and clear.
Yeah,
Thank you for
didn't
joining.
know. Yeah, thanks. Didn't know I can't speak on the computer, so needed to switch to mobile.
Yeah. We've all had that shocking revelation that the most popular app on Web2 does not allow us to speak from the desktop version, and we have to switch to the mobile version.
Yeah,
This is super
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Okay, so mostly in Mango we use VSR for grants, I think. So the whole idea was to give MNGO grants and allow people to vote right away with the voting weight without unlocking the full amount. So this was the whole idea behind it, I think.
Okay, so the grant was what you have the vote passed for a grant that you earned, let's say, and then it's locked up in the VSR so that you cannot claim it all at once. Am I getting this
Yes, yeah.
correctly?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's super interesting. Yeah. I've always been I've always had the question about VSR and how it works because it's a great tool that can reward loyal members of the DAO in with more governance power. But how does that affect circulation and quorum? Can you remind us? I don't remember whether quorum we need to adjust manually after enabling the VSR, or it gets adjusted in a way on its own.
Yeah, in our case, we didn't adjust the quorum. So because only one of the founders logged for the 5 years, so yeah, it was not like very. We didn't need to adjust the quorum, but mostly the grants are not like super extremely high in MNGOs. We more use the VSR for the paycheck, like in the USDC, because you can add more means to the grants and give grants in other tokens than in the voting token. Also, it is handy to like relock your tokens, because if you lock it for cliff or vesting time, then your voting power is decreasing in the time of the lock. So, for example, if you have 1 year lock for 10 million MNGOs, and you have your voting power is like 14 million in that case, it is decreasing over time because you are unlocking the MNGO. Yeah.
Have there been any peculiar scenarios that you've encountered in using VSR, not only on Mango or any other DAOs that you know that have been using it? And do we know?
There is a new idea that we are discussing with the dual DAO, because we have a bunch of dual tokens, and we can adjust the VSR to vote from the Mango DAO to vote in the dual DAO. Because dual DAO could add another mint to the VSR if they would go with that use case. They would need to add MNGO to their like VSR. I need to drop it. They can add MNGO to their like voting VSR configuration with some voting weight like 0.4 per one Mango, depending on how many dual we have inside our DAO, and we could vote with that, proposing the approval of their proposals inside their DAO, or like if people could go to their DAO and vote with Mango tokens.
And for those that are listening in the audience, what exactly is dual DAO? For those that don't know.
Dual DAO is another DAO that they are making options on the Solana.
Oh, we're talking about dual finance.
Dual finance, yeah.
Ah,
exactly.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, and they gave us. We just make some deal with them for adding liquidity to the MNGO token, and they gave some tokens to our DAO. So we are looking for a way to vote inside, but there are ways like you can delegate the voting power, but then there is only one guy who can vote So we were looking for something that where all the MNGO holders could vote inside the dual finance DAO. Yeah, and with just small like adjustment in the VSR, we could do it with the VSR without like super extreme adjustments to the realms.
Speaking of which, I know that Dean's List also has some dual finance options that we were given after collaborating with them, and we also love dual finance. I know for sure Dean loves them, and we want to do more with them, definitely. So maybe that's something that we should be exploring in Dean's List as well. So
Yeah.
taking a note for this for sure. It would be very interesting to see how we can, vote on their DAO as well.
Yeah, another option is to just transfer the dual that you have inside your Solana wallet, inside Realms, to another wallet with like 24 hours voting. And you can make a bot that will propose to your DAO proposals from the dual, and you would vote on that with the Deaned List tokens. So this is like another approach.
Wow, that's even more great. I don't know. I mean, we haven't thought about that, to be honest. But yeah, that makes sense. It would be super cool to do.
Yeah. So back to the VSR, we are mostly using it for grants and like for additional. You can also there's right now we have this token listing thing inside the Mango that if you have 100k MNGOs, you can propose any token to list it on Mango platform. So with the VSR, you can just buy only 50k and lock it to propose the things.
So basically, that's the 10k threshold is something that you wanted to make easy for someone to propose tokens that can be listed on Mango, right?
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily require from them to acquire a great deal of MNGO to be able to put up a proposal like this, I assume.
Yes. They can lock 50k or just buy 100k, propose something, and then just sell it. So it is not like mandatory to hold it.
Yeah, that's a constant conundrum that we don't want to impose to holders, and we don't want to enable behaviors like that, buy for a vote and then sell. That kind of sucks, to be honest.
Yeah, and like in previous case, the VSR itself, it is not the all things that VSR can do is not implemented fully on the UI. But for example, you can have multiple voting tokens inside your DAO if you want. You can configure that. Yeah.
I have so many questions about that, which brings me to another question I want to have in this discussion, which is about double voting. So how does this work exactly? Can you, for example, have your tokens deposited on Realms and then use VSR to somehow lock an NFT that allows you a certain multiplier on your voting power on the token? Is that something that it's even possible right now?
Okay, so if you have, because the configuration in VSR is configured by mint, so if you have like NFT with multiple amount on one mint, you could do that. But if you have like multiple NFTs which mostly have different mints, then it is not possible. I think right now. You could adjust the VSR to have a collection, I think, of the NFTs. But yeah, so it is possible to vote with multiple tokens, but it would need a small adjustments to the UI to allow deposits of the other token than the one from the Realm config. But the program allows you to do that.
Okay,
yeah.
Go on. Sorry.
And yeah, because you can give voting weight to any token, like even to the USDC if you want, you can give some voting power to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, if you have an NFT collection of a certain supply that you know from the start, it's not like something that you mint on the go. Let's say when you have a 5K NFT supply collection, um, you can use that NFT and lock the NFT in order to get more voting power on the token.
Mostly NFTs, even if they are from one collection, they have the like different means. So this is the problem. There are some NFTs that are the same, and you, for example, have, let's say, 5Ks of cat NFTs with the same traits. They would have the same mint, but it is treated like a normal token in that case. Because mostly, even if NFT is from one collection, they have a different traits and different means. So this would need some adjustments to the program, I think, to check the collection, not the mint itself.
So yeah, that having different traits is something that affects how we can approach that. But I would guess that if you have an NFT collection that doesn't have any traits, and it's like, let's say, an honorable token or something that's been given into early participants or whatever reason, and it's something that doesn't have any traits or any changes, I guess
Yeah.
that makes things a bit easier, right?
Yes. If it has one mint and like some amount, then it doesn't even have to be fixed amount. If it has same mint, you can configure it like that at this moment. But it is very easy to adjust because you can like fork the program and adjust it for yourself and propose it to DAO to have your own fork. Some like in Mango have their own instance of the VSR. That is the same. This is the same instance that is default, but it is owned by the Mango Council.
Yeah, the thing is with when in open source software like Realms, you can fork and you basically you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit there with your imagination. But for the more beginner users and DAO operators, let's say, it's great that you can do that from scratch right out of
Yeah.
the box without having to fork and build something on your own.
Yes. Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to ask about the VSR, is there any particular documentation? I know for sure that the Realm support team of Dean's List is working on that at the moment. And a shout out to Legend and Zentoshi and all the guys that are spearheading this. But is there any particular documentation? The only thing that I could find at the moment, for example, was from Sido, where they had enabled the VSR and they have some kind of a tutorial in the documentation that you can use, to enable the VSR on your program. But is there any official documentation on Realms?
On Rhythms, no, there's like no documentation on paper in the internet, let's say, but the code is very well commented. So if you can read a bit of comments in the code, then you can check it yourself in the repo, because yeah, it is very well commented there.
What are the most extreme, and that goes for the audience as well, if you guys have any instance of the most let's say inventive use of the VSR that you have encountered on Solana? And also I wanted to ask that because I don't know, is there any equivalent of the VSR on Ethereum, on EVM chains, so to speak? I guess there hasn't been any crazy implementation of the VSR, but I'm sure this will change because the more we keep using and the more we toy with the VSR and in the great thing that that SPL governance is, we the more we discover stuff. So I'm very optimistic about that and very excited about the possibilities that we can do either through the default option or by forking and doing things that are not exposed in the UI at the moment.
No, one I can give you one good tip that because if you've seen the latest changes, I think in the Realms program, then we have the cooldown right now. So if you are using VSR, use cooldown on the proposals too, because before the cooldown feature, there was ability to like propose something and lock in the last minutes of the proposal and pass it. So it is good to have a cooldown on the proposals when you have the VSR.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. So you could basically see if the proposal isn't going your way, and at the very last minute lock up the tokens that are already active in that vote and get the extra push to pass the vote, right?
Yeah, you could withdraw your vote and lock it. Yeah. So this was like a issue, I think. Because in most DAOs, what I see is it is like that if the quorum approval quorum is like, for example, let's say you have 100 million approval quorum on the proposal, and like most people see that 100 million tokens deny something, they are not like voting on that proposal anymore if the quorum is reached. Then if there is someone who have like 60 mil tokens, then they could lock it in the last minutes and pass it with 120k million votes. So this was the issue. So that's why we have like 24 hours cooldown in the Mango DAO.
So it's 24 hours. So if the voting period in the DAO is set to more than 24 hours, then that play is still available for someone to game the system like that, right?
No, you can set the cooldown to any amount of hours. Like for example, yeah, you can have like 24 hours vote and 2 hours cooldown. So cooldown gives you ability to like deny the proposal, withdraw your vote, but you can't approve it. So it is time for someone to like, this is kind of veto. We can say this is something similar to veto.
I think my mic was off. So which is the same thing that you can do with a council token, but without using a council token. So effectively,
Yes.
it's a much more decentralized option and much more preferable, I'm sure, for many.
Yeah, exactly. This is like a community veto. We can say this is something like that.
All right, Zentoshi co-host. Any questions on the discussion so far? I'm sure there are many. Have you thought about something that you want to ask?
Hey, Adrian, so cool to listen about this stuff. So, I actually have two questions. First question is to go back to the beginning. When was the moment when you guys from Mango realized you need VCR?
The moment was when we have I came to Mango DAO and there were a lot of new developers that came to the Mango DAO, I think. So we realized we need something to like give vested grants of the USDC and also to give the MNGO grants, but we didn't want to the MNGO be unlocked right away. So when you are,
I see. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so when you are like acquiring a lot of new people that you want to give grants to, I think this is the moment you would want to use the VSR.
How do you guys prevent someone from using like some scam tokens?
Scam tokens inside for the configuration, or
Yeah, for voting, they can apply and they get it actually because they have 10,000 tokens.
so to like add some token to the VSR, you would need to pass the proposal. So if you propose something scammy, then probably most of people won't vote on that, I think. And we are checking every proposal very carefully. So yeah. And yeah, and
Thank you.
for the
Mhm.
VSR configuration, we have like 7 million tokens, as I remember. So this is a lot more for the stuff that is really dangerous. So not much people can propose it.
That's good. That's good. And my second question is, how do you actually calculate and distribute the reward for people who stake?
For people who like work inside the Mango DAO, so I would say this depends on the experience itself and the involvement of the like in the DAO. So it is very different for different people, I would say. People who works on the Mango V4, for example, have more tokens than other people. So this is like normal thing. But it is discussed on forum mostly. Someone proposed some amount and we discuss it on the Mango forum or on Discord how much this guy should have.
Awesome. So, do you guys have any other questions for Adrian?
I have to say that I've learned a lot on that today with this discussion, and thank you, Adrian, for joining us. The VSR is always a fascinating beast to configure, to get it right, to explore the possibilities in your community. And I know that more and more Solana DAOs are coming after using the VSR, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing greater and very very interesting things regarding the use of VSR on Realms. So thank you, Adrian, and thank you, to the Mango team about for being the pioneers in that, so that we can have some toys to play. That's super. We super appreciate that. I know that for sure.
Thanks.
Okay, we're nearing in the 45 minute mark. Any questions from the audience regarding the use of VSR in Realms? I'm sure Legend will have a lot of questions, but he won't ask them now. He will DM and ask everything. But yeah, again, once a big shout out in working out the documentation about the VSR and that, and to the whole Realms support team from Dean's List. Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, this was a bit short but very very impactful space. Thank you everybody for joining. It has been a very interesting discussion, and like I said, VSR has, it's a very interesting avenue to explore in Realms, and do make a habit to check it out and try it out on your communities and your DAOs. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Zentosi. Thank you everybody in the audience. And if there are no more questions, let's wrap this up.
I just want to say thank you, Adrian, and thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you
And a
too,
big shout
guys.
out to Zentosi for being her first Twitter space as a co-host. It's always amazing to have, skilled people and cool people to help out in these things. And it's always nice to have amazing discussions like this one today. So thank you, everybody, again. Okay, so thank you for coming, and till the next DAO space, stay tuned and make sure that you use your realms and your DAOs in the proper way. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice
Bye.
evening, morning, whatever you are.